Well, we began our 2022 season a year ago by inviting Doretha Hare, the widow of Alfred Hare, one of the founders of the group of African-American painters known as the Florida Highwaymen, to tell her story. And that exhibition set the stage for a wonderful year of strong and varied and vibrant exhibitions. As we begin our 2023 season, we have the honor of showcasing the work and facilitating the story of this brilliant artist, Kendra Frorup. Please, round of applause for Kendra. And because of how wonderful this has been, we have the same expectations for all the exhibitions that will follow this year. Kendra has a deep love and respect for the cultural influences that have formed her and her working method, from very personal and intimate family interactions to her stories of key moments from her many travels, some of which you will hear about tonight. She is on many levels a collector, not just of unique and telling materials and material processes, but also of the memories of these seminal chance encounters on her travels. Kendra has requested this wonderful kind of casual format this evening, and before we learn of her travels, Kendra will read this beautiful piece of this thing. Now, is this something you've written, Kendra?
It is.
So Kendra is going to come up and join this so please, again, welcome Kendra up to the front. Oh, please, absolutely, yeah. Whatever you feel comfortable.
Just to read this and then...
No, absolutely, yeah.
Then go back to... First of all, I want to say thank you for having me here. I'm really humbled at this opportunity. This is an incredible space. This is an incredible opportunity. I pinch myself. And I thank you. You've all been so welcoming and so gracious. And thank you for that. This is amazing. I'm not a writer, and that's why I make visual work. And so this is an attempt at I don't know why I wrote this, but this is an attempt at creative writing, and so something I'm proud of, but I wanted to share with you, because this sort of frames what my work is about in general, yeah, so that's as much as I'm going to say to start with. My country. My country sounds of coconuts falling from a tree. My country tastes like sugar cane, sour ganaps, gooseberries, and jelly coconut water. My country smells more coconut cream cakes, peanut candy, and Sunday lunches. My country sounds of parching Benny. Parching Benny? Have you heard about parching Benny? Well, that's Jesse's mouth. All day long she talking gossip till her voice runs out. I can hear the chickens in the bunk above. I know it's not my brother, because he's right next to me. It ain't my sister, because she's next to me too. I'll touch my brother, and then I'll touch my sister's face. Uncle Clark left us last night. Or was that Uncle Clark? Uncle Clark was Tingamaboo. Uncle Clark was the Ovid. Uncle Clark had the Black Art book. It is a woman who jokes, brays like a donkey when he is thirsty. That's by Jamaica King. 7 o'clock, 5 days a week. The island rings of the sound of, oh, Miss Lai, why you carry on so? I bray along. That was my favorite part. Shh, gal. I want to hear this sweet piece of business. It's 7:30. The Fergusons of Farm Road is over. Z&S plays Calypso. Mary Cox and Mummy talk across the fence. They're making plans for Debbie's shower. She wants 6 coconut tarts, but Keith and Dawn bought gin. We made gin and coconut water with the last of the coconuts. Coconut water is such a refreshing drink. Gin and coconut water. You can't get that in America. Bahamian Delight, 2 parts Campari, 1 part grapefruit juice. If you want to keep a man, stand over a pot of hot rice. If you see a snake, you say, my back, my belly, my back, my belly. It will stop and turn away. If someone flashes you their crotch, guaranteed hard luck. The rake off. My house and the house next door. Participants, Keith Clark and myself. When, every Saturday morning, it was my job to rake the yard. The race was who could finish first, but me, I made pretty patterns in the front yard. 6 and 6 is 12. Who do you think he's 6ing at? He couldn't mean me. I smirk. Anyone ever tell you you look sweet? Nobody ever told me that before. If she's so black, she's a conch diver. If she's so brown, she is sweet brown sugar. If her mommy got color and her hair ain't nappy, she's a mango skin gal. Manners maketh man. If you don't know a man, call him Mr. That was Mr. Middleton, principal of Queens College High School. I say, good evening, ma'am, as I take a shortcut through her yard. She says, all right, child, good evening. How's your ma? Mommy's doing just fine, Miss Lang. Miss Lang, can I have some of your sweet jelly coconuts? Yeah, go ahead, but don't dirty up my yard. A childhood in the Bahamas, growing up in an exotic paradise. Family, manners, church going, taste, education, work, play, and the supernatural are a natural and internal part of what I attempt to convey in my art. It internalizes and reconstructs all the wonders, love, and experiences that my country effortlessly poured into me. My country is me. My country is me. I am a Bahamian. Who knows why I wrote that one, but at the time I felt myself and wanted to share that with you. I know some of it is in dialect, and if you see me later on, you can ask me what certain things mean.
That was wonderful. So one of the reasons we were so incredibly pleased that Kendra agreed to this night was because you all, like me, if you spend some time in the gallery, you realize that the work requires something of the viewer. It subtly kind of takes you on a journey with itself. It doesn't kind of reveal itself all at once. And when I first saw Kendra's work, I was like completely enamored with it. And then I met Kendra, and then I met the work again, and then I met Kendra, and then I met the work again, and I was kind of taken on this long journey. And I feel like the world, I consider myself pretty educated, but I feel like the world opened up to me in a new and really beautiful way. So I think that because of allowing Kendra to tell some of those stories, the influences behind the works, the travels that influenced them, I'm sure we can all have that same experience tonight. So the beautiful thing is, Kendra has put together this PowerPoint, not me. So we know we're gonna get a lot of great stuff. The thing I'm pleased with is we get to begin with one of my favorite pieces in the exhibition. And this was a piece you did for your father, is that correct? And this is the SS Mad Max. Kendra and I were installing late the night before the exhibition opened, And I fell so in love with this piece, I actually became probably pretty annoying because I had a remote Bluetooth speaker and I connected it to my phone and I kept on doing the augmented reality where the rooster crows just to keep us all awake at about 11 o'clock at night. So please tell us the origin of this wonderful piece.
So
Oh, I think it's your button here. I think it should be.
hello?
Oh, here. Let's see.
So the famous Mad Max. This piece is called the SS Mad Max. So Mad Max, my dad's name was Maxwell Earl Hamilton. I'm named after him, Earl, lucky name. Anyway, Mad Max was this, my dad was this grand guy, very tall, big guy, walked into a room, and when he walked into the room, you knew he was there. So I had great admiration for him. My parents, however, divorced when I was little, but we had a great relationship with both parents. My dad was this interior decorator. If you've been to Atlantis, he did a lot of the interior construction on Atlantis. So I'm proud to say that. But I admired him. And when I went to his house, there was this painting. It had this light on it, and I thought, he's cool. He's cool, and that's a great work of art. Anyway, he passed away a couple of years ago. And so when we were sort of dismantling his house, I put dibs on that. My sister knew it, and so this work, it doesn't show in the, it doesn't show in the photograph. This work, this painting, I decided to paint a rooster at the bow of the boat. One of the reasons I painted a rooster, I'm in love with roosters. I love the sounds. It's an auditory thing for me. But I didn't realize that my dad also loved roosters. When we went through his paperwork and his personal effects, there were roosters drawn doodles on everything.
Is that one of his?
Yeah, that is one of his.
Yeah.
That's his rooster, and it was on a pharmacy bag that said "Thank you." So I made a T-shirt so everybody could wear that in honor of him. But the painting, I painted a rooster on it, and I think the best way to honor my dad was he was so loud and boisterous, and you knew he was in the room. I decided to augment it and have it crow. So if you're fortunate to go across the street. I encourage you to augment it. It's pretty funny and fun. Part of how I create there's a wit there. I know I have, and so that was a fun piece to create.
The funny thing is that week of install was so stressful that I had the chance to go back in the next week, and I'd go through the gallery and I'd pass it and do it. Then I'd go the other way and I'd pass it and do it, and it's just. You can't help but smile with that piece. And if I was your dad, I would just think, what a beautiful memory to have in a gallery where people could go and experience that like that.
Yeah. He was also a great lover of boats and ship, and in his last days he had dementia, and his whole conversation was about the boat. So that was why I honored him with this particular piece.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, so we can segue that into this beautiful piece that you've done in honor of your mom called, let's see. Called Olive, is that correct?
Olive, that's my girl. Olive was my girly girl. My mom, beautiful soul. I'm very much, I used to think I was my mom's twin, but I saw that portrait and some of my mannerisms now. I think, oh my God, I turned into my dad. Anyway, my mom was such a beautiful soul. She was a collector, much like myself. I'm a collector, otherwise known as a hoarder. But my mom was very much that person. Did not understand my art, and I'm getting to the story, but didn't understand my art at all. Didn't understand why I was doing this, and I could do better. When I graduated from graduate school, I went to Syracuse. Graduate school, I had my thesis show, and I decided that I would do a small print etching, printed in olive ink, and I would do this in honor of my mom. Anybody been to the islands where they sort of embroider your name on the bottom of the skirt of the dolls, the straw dolls, or the hat that you buy, right? And so I embroidered it they are olive on the bottom of this print. And I said, hey, I got something for you. Walked my mom over to the piece, and she said, what else you got to show me? Not impressed at all. Needless to say, I gave that piece to someone else because she was not impressed. However, my mom was my biggest fan. When she passed away, she had a tattered catalog in the compartment of her car. And that said to me that she showed that to everyone that she encountered, that my daughter was an artist. And so,
and it was a catalog of your exhibition?
It was a catalog of one of my old catalogs. And so it was very tattered. So I gave away the original print, but after her passing, I found a proof. And so this is the proof, and I vowed that every time I have a solo show, if I can, I try to include it in the show for her presence, in her honor.
And I think that the next piece we're going to address relates to your mom as well. Is that correct?
Yeah. 70 is a big deal. I come from a big religious background. My mom was Christian. When we talk about the age 70, 70. If you're from the islands or you've been to the islands, 70 is somewhere biblical. It's in the Bible. And it talks about that being the greatest honor to live that long. When she was turning 70, we decided to throw her this huge party, in her honor. But instead of me throwing that party, I decided that it would be a great opportunity to make a piece. And so this piece is in her honor, at 70, 70. Again, she's not impressed. I actually bent cypress wood, and so there's 70 rings to include the cypress wood and to include the sewn circles on the skirt, on the fabric piece. Not impressed, she was not impressed. But, yeah.
And we have a beautiful detail of this piece, I think. Is that correct?
Yeah. There is. Sometimes when as I create, I don't know what I'm doing, why am I putting this umbilical cord? And now I get it. Sometimes it takes creating and then sort of sitting back and realizing what you just did. And this was one of those moments, that umbilical cord, the print on that tire, that's an inner tube. That print on that inner tube is very much like the print on the sofa, covered with plastic. Wow. So sometimes it takes sitting back and looking at it.
It's funny, when I first encountered your work and was thinking about the exhibition, I gravitated towards this piece. And I was super happy that you were able to come on board and we went through, but I was so sad that this had found a home somewhere else. Is that correct?
Yep, this has found a home. This is in the permanent collection at Bahamas, if you travel to the Bahamas. It's a resort, and one of the initiatives, or one of the things that they vowed to do was collect and show only Bahamian art, and so they're the owner of that.
Well, they made an outstanding choice with this work. It's beautiful. Yeah. Okay, so this is another piece that is not in the exhibition, but this is going to be a great explanation for this piece. Domestic chickens.
Domestic chickens. This is where it all started. Graduate school. This is a very, very old piece. It's in the permanent collection of the National Museum of the Bahamas, so they own this. This particular piece is, just to give you an idea of materials, it's bronze and don't tell, but the fabric is old postal bags, and so I go to the post office every evening to get old canvas bags so that I could sew it. Found out it was illegal afterwards. But anyway, this particular piece, I had a colleague of mine in graduate school. I somehow convinced him that I could work a spell on it. So my very first trip home for my first semester there, I came back that Christmas, and I came back with a cooler full of chicken feet.
Oh my goodness!
And I said, I got something for you.
And this was up in Syracuse.
This was up in Syracuse. Right. Chris Dunbar. He was kind of a bully in the program, but I convinced him that I could put a spell on him. So I bought him this package of chicken feet. And since I had them, I made molds of them, and then decided that this is something worth exploring in my work, and that's where the idea of using the chicken feed. However, my love of roosters and chickens was there.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we have a beautiful detail in this piece. Right. So the cast chicken feet are in bronze, is that correct?
They're in bronze. The initial thought was that I would have them be kinetic, so that they would move and the feet would actually hit the floor.
Right.
But then after I installed it initially, I thought the implied movement would be a little more effective than just making it a toy.
Right.
Yeah.
And so this is a great segue into the piece, the butcher block piece, because that has similar methodology, right?
Yeah, this is up with, the roosters, the chickens escape taking the block with them.
Because this is where they get beheaded, right? Is that correct?
Yeah. What was I thinking?
That's funny. So they're thinking, if I take the block, then we're all right. We'll get rid of the block.
This is also a part of the collection of the National Museum.
Man, that's another beautiful. So the piece that, our next piece, Iron Market, this is one of my favorite pieces from the exhibition. This is also proof that Kendra does not feel like the laws of physics apply to her or her work. If you know anything about, because the hands are cast in wax,
yeah.
And the hands have metal supports running through them, and to hear the relationship between you and your longtime installer, while this piece was going up, I wish everybody could have been a fly on the wall during that time. It's not an easy thing to balance a bunch of heavy ceramic chickens on the top of a very precariously perched, but it is, the physics of it is as wonderful as the piece is. So can you tell us about this? And
yeah, this is when I love to travel. You know that. You all know that. For advertising, I love to travel. When I travel, what's most important is that I immerse myself in the culture. I try to go to the markets. I think the market is the best place. The local markets, not the tourist markets.
Right.
The local markets, I think, is the best place where you can get the essence of a culture and who people really are and what they do and how they eat and how they live, and people are usually willing to talk. Anyway, this particular piece, Iron Market, when we go to the next slide will make more sense. By the way, the hand model, I'll give my husband credit for this. My husband has velvet hands, and he said, I take care of them. He's a banker. he's a banker. So my husband is my hand model. But this particular piece was inspired by, the bucket actually comes from the Iron Market. But this particular piece was inspired by, the next image, this. Okay? And what is that? That is actually a walking pharmacy. It was my first trip to Haiti. It was not my first trip to Haiti, but it was a trip to Haiti where I did a residency called Ghetto Biennale, which is amazing. If you're an artist and you have an opportunity, it's the most amazing experience. Right after the earthquake. And so there were vendors walking all around Haiti with these cone-like structures. And after examining closely, there's their pharmacy. And every little one of those things are pills. Wow. Right?
Isn't that amazing?
So,
yeah.
So you could buy and get anything you wanted if you could afford it. So on the top of it was also like a dry goods store. It was like soaps and toiletries. And so I was intrigued by this and did some study and research on the structure of it, and that's the inspiration for the piece you just saw, Iron Market.
But your translation of it is so beautiful because your beadwork in the gallery, it really, you want to figure out why in the world did you create this kind of structure that fights against physics and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And the story behind it is so rich, right?
I am very visual, and so through my travels, I document. I'm not documenting people because people are sometimes offended by it, especially when you go to lesser developed countries. But I'm documenting ideas, small. Again, this goes against physics.
Right,
I mean, why
right.
are you carrying that around?
Exactly, right,
Okay.
right.
So things like that, I'm inspired by.
Wonderful. So this one again is something you'll have to explain to me because is that just a detail at the top of the piece?
So this is very similar to that. This is not that same piece, but
Right.
it could be.
Right,
And
right.
so the yellow sticks on top is actually soap. And this was pretty much how they carried their goods around to sell daily.
Wow.
There were tubs, and it over a period of time, I tried to reconstruct and sort of recreate similar structures. But this was something that was eclectic, that was developed over a period of time. Every day they would strengthen it with a different color string,
Right,
and so
right.
it became something else. And so again, visually, I also print. In my printing process, this to me is a strong image that you might see an essence of this
Right.
replicated in printing or in a two-dimensional work.
That's wonderful. It definitely has all the kind of textures and
layers
that absolutely. So this is one of my favorite pieces in our exhibition. Yeah, this is Prince Charles at Sea Breeze. So let us know what's going on with these beautiful porcelain coconuts.
Prince Charles at Sea Breeze. Again, I'm a collector, not only a collector of objects, but I'm a collector of ideas, visual imagery. I actually made an about turn and turn back to capture the inspiration for this particular piece. Prince Charles is a main thoroughfare. My mom actually lives on Prince Charles. I didn't think of that until today. My mom actually lived on Prince Charles. Sea Breeze is a cross section. And at that corner, there's this guy that's selling coconuts or any fruit that's in season. You may see 2 mangoes, you may see an avocado. And I said to him, hey, how about I take your picture? Can I take a picture of that shelf? And he said, yeah, $5. All right, deal. So I got a picture of that, which is probably the next picture.
Yeah.
And then, as I was casting these porcelain fragile coconuts and sort of thinking about this guy, there's actually, at the end, if we have time, a student wrote a response to this particular work that's beautiful.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah.
If we have time at the end. But anyway, this, I thought I'd recreate it. This is the original photograph. Again, it's just from my iPhone. But again, I'm collecting, it's a part of my collecting images. I was trying to find this image and I typed in Prince Charles and popped right up. So, technology.
When we were installing that late night before the opening, you and I had this fun moment when we were installing this piece in the gallery, and your installer was in the middle of us, and we were on either end, and Kendra and I said the same thing at the same time, and we had this really great moment, and
we were like
high-fiving each other, and Mike is like, would you cut the shit out of me? But the funniest thing is, I was thinking like that, because I'm thinking in like Western terms of like, oh, art has to be level and and you're like, no, let it have its life, let it have it. And it was just so refreshing to see that you were trying to let the same inspiration that you saw come through in the work. And
this piece is, I can't remember the year of it, at least 5 years old. That shelf still exists, and I look forward to seeing it when I stop on that corner. I actually am disappointed when the light changes, so I don't get to see it.
Right. And this piece is another piece that's not in the exhibition, but this looks like this. When I saw this today, when I was reviewing this, I almost thought this might be an homage to your father again, the boat builder coming through. I could be wrong, but
very much so.
Yeah.
This was a part of my thing. This is an old piece, and it's the beginning of the coconut series. This very much was a replica of sort of the boat building and collecting of the wood and materials. I grew up in that environment, right? My grandfather, Earl Hamilton, I'm so proud of that name. Earl Hamilton was a boat builder. They immigrated from Turks and Caicos to the Bahamas as stowaways on a boat. I didn't learn that until recently. And so this particular piece was sort of about the boat,
Right.
about the wood collecting and the coconuts. Coconuts are everywhere, plentiful, and they're free. So this is the beginning of the porcelain coconuts. I'll tell you a quick story about the porcelain coconuts. So this show, I had hundreds of coconuts, and on this piece, this is kind of picked away right now, probably twice as much on that particular piece. So at the end of the show, I give my mom a piece. This is the same show. So here you go, dear. So she says, oh, nice. And so I go home and it's sitting on the patio in the back. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
This beautiful porcelain coconut.
Porcelain coconut. Well, that particular porcelain coconut, when she passed away, I saved it. And that silver leaf coconut is on the Crown of Glory in the show.
Wow, that's wonderful. Yeah. And so I think we have a detail on this piece. There. It's funny, I almost thought that the coconuts, they almost resemble the barnacles on the bottom of the ships too, when they turn the ships upside down. Now this piece is wonderful. This is in our exhibition. So this is the bronze coconuts, right?
This is the bronze coconut.
Right.
Sort of exploring. I've exhibited this piece several times, and when I create, sometimes there's no rhyme or reason. I'm just making. Sometimes it's aesthetic, experimentation. I thought I would experiment with a new vein of materials. I'm not sure about this piece yet. I've displayed it several times, but I'm not quite sure.
I had a wonderful moment with this piece when I was in the gallery, and in Western tradition, you only bronze things that are really precious, right? And I was thinking how, a food source that sustains a community is about as precious as you can get, right? And to see the wonderful physicality and how that you played with the essence of like what is worth, right? What is something worth? And so I did get something really wonderful out of that piece, even if you haven't come to a conclusion with it. Yeah.
Makes sense with the porcelain also. Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
Fragile, sort of.
So we have a different kind of configuration of this incredible piece in our exhibition. I'm not even going to get in the way of the story of this. It's so rich. And your courage to I'll let you go. Just go do your...
So Haiti was just like, you land and you get off of the plane and you get in the airport and it's like, different world, right? Totally different world. This piece, if you look at the blue hands, they're hands of... So I grew up in a religious background of Christianity. And so when I went to Haiti, it was all voodoo and obe, and I'm like, yeah, all right. So we went to this voodoo ceremony, which was really draining, and it really played on me. And so as I navigated through Haiti, going to the markets, I had this guy that was taking me around. He says, I want you to meet someone. So he introduced me to the voodoo doctor.
Is that this gentleman?
Papa Da, young guy, right? So we went to the market, hung out half a day, with this guy, and bought him some rum, and sort of befriended him and talked about religion, and then in the end I said, hey, how about if I make a mold of your hands? And he, at first, was a little reluctant because he thought it was kind of taking his soul. And then I really talked him into it, and he agreed. So I took a mold of his hands, and I thought, what am I going to cast this? I'm in Haiti. I don't have plaster. I don't have time for cement to dry. What am I going to cast this hands in? And so I bought some voodoo candles, melted the wax, and casted the hands in blue. The blue was the only color I could find, but it was great choice.
It's perfect.
It was perfect. And so I cast the hands in blue wax. His name is Papa Da. May he rest in peace. I think he passed away a couple of years ago. He was really proud of seeing those hands. While I was in Haiti, a part of the residency was to have a sort of final presentation. And so I paired up with this wonderful guy, convinced him to let me share his studio in Haiti, an Haitian artist. And this was that event.
I love them in the rough environment. It's gorgeous.
It was great. The beads actually are blue beads. This was a smaller work. I wish I knew where this was. This particular piece, the blue on the top was, instead of the candles having a wick, it had fabric, a strip of fabric in it. So once I melted the wax, I thought, I'm a hoarder, remember? I decided that I would save that blue fabric, and this was a piece of mine.
And then we have the bronze chicken feet again.
The bronze chicken feet.
Right.
Speaking of inspiration, I have not responded, as I was sort of pulling together images for this particular talk. By the way, I want to just say, Papadal, the image of him, I did not take that photograph, someone else did it, so I want to make sure they get credit for it. Her name is Leah Gordon, just to make sure she gets credit. But this particular photographs I did, as I was looking through it, I had a real chuckle to myself, because this sort of reminds me of my childhood. See those sassy little girls right there on the side? I was one of them, right? This photograph was taken in Haiti. You see the little kid with this sort of makeshift toy car? That was me, that was what I did as a kid. I was very innovative. We made doll houses. I was I was the architect of the neighborhood, right?
Wow.
I would put sticks through the fence, cardboard on top, and that was our doll house. What a wonderful childhood I had. But as I was sort of surfing through photographs, I looked at this and I thought, wow, I wonder why I never did anything with it. But this is just from my travels to Haiti. Then there's Africa.
Wow.
Africa was like, whew. It was just in your face.
Even after Haiti, it was still that kind of overwhelming. Yeah.
Haiti seemed reserved to this. This was Tanzania. We walked through the markets. We had a local guide. This was a residency that I did in Tanzania. It was called Warm Heart. The residency was a paper making workshop where we made paper from natural fibers. Again, market's my thing, man. So we paid someone to navigate us through the market, but the whole market followed us the whole time. It was very overwhelming, but the most colorful. I gathered so much. I just had a visual. Gathered so much information to inform my work. From Africa, but this was Tanzania. Absolutely amazing experience. That to me, what inspires me, that to me is a painting. Again, looking through my work, I missed this one, right? And so a print will definitely be from that.
It's gorgeous, yeah.
It is. Speaking of materials, what am I attracted to? I'm attracted to things that have had a history. And I want to give it new life. This particular work, again in a private collection, Duran. I saw this guy was in Tanzania for a month, and I saw this guy on the corner every day. I did ask if I could take this photograph to inform my work, and he obliged at a cost, but that's okay. But he was selling this. He's selling these shoes, and it for me it was about, man. He got up every single day, stood on this corner every single day. It was about the resilience.
Like an act of faith.
Yeah, exactly. And he didn't look. I mean, he had this same serious look daily. Didn't look happy, like he was fighting himself. And so, thus Duran. So, with the boxing gloves, for me, it was experimental in materials, in digital media.
The color is striking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be powerful and strong, like really strong.
Does the boxing reference Roberto Duran at all? The fighter?
The fighter, yes.
Yeah, okay.
That's what it does.
Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah.
So, someone asked me, what was the weirdest thing I collected? The gloves. I collect things, and sometimes I sit on them for years, right? I bought these at a yard sale, and I used them the very next day.
Wow.
It's reference images.
Beautiful.
Christina was in the market. I spent days in the market with Christina. They were bringing me lunch. So one of the things I wanted to do in Tanzania was to immerse myself with the artisans, learn the techniques of bead making, and not only bead making, how to make beads, how to use beads, etc. And so Christina was my friend. I befriended her and all her little buddies around, and so I would hang out in the market and be with them all day until I got it.
The neck pieces behind her are gorgeous.
Yeah, this is the neck pieces are from the Maasai tribe. Thus the piece, If I Were a Maasai. This was my first attempt at beading, awful. But I thought I would document it. I've got better over a period of time. And Christina and I communicated for a long period of time. I even sent a automatic beader that we used. Yeah. Not she wasn't impressed.
Is this you working in the market?
Yeah, this is actually in Ghana. I've had the opportunity to take a group of students to Ghana with the University of Tampa. This is in Ghana, learning weaving a kente cloth. Much younger. I thought, oh, is that me? Again, artisans, learning the craft, immersing myself in the culture. This was sad and not sad. This was a group of artisans that took, the metal oil drums, the 55-gallon drums. They took those and they actually pounded them in using tire forms to make pans and bowls, and needless to say, I brought a bunch of them back, right? I had all the students bringing stuff back. It was a mess. Anyway, what was crazy about this, and I didn't put it in this because I don't know. There was a group of kids in this, it was a junkyard, and these kids were so happy, but filthy. And I thought, wow, I'm judging them, and I'm saying they're filthy, but they're the happiest kids in the world. No matter what life throws at them, they're the happiest kids, yeah. So this one, a steel pan, I created a piece. He actually let me sit and work with him. I was not as good as he is. This is a combination. This is when I started to include three-dimensional objects on my two-dimensional works. Sort of breaking the surface, breaking the barriers. And this is steel can man.
So this wonderful piece, collecting plates, this is an art exhibition.
It is.
The thing I'm going to let you talk about it, but the thing that struck me the most about this was, here you have this relatively new technology, the augmented reality, and you used it to let these women share these incredibly thoughtful, personal moments of encouragement and their vision. And I just thought, most people that I encounter in contemporary work try to be clever with technology, and yours was just so incredibly heartfelt. And I had an incredibly beautiful moment. There's one of these ladies, maybe we'll get to see her, but she became like this little superhero for me, because she was her message was so strong and heartfelt. And the fact that I encountered it through this work was incredibly meaningful for me. So please let us know how this came about.
So one of the lady that he's talking about, top right, if you experience the piece, is Senator Athenia Joyner. So I'm in an organization called Links. Links is an organization founded in 1949, a group of African-American women, professional women of color, that are the aim is for service and friendship. And so I'm not big on organizations. One of the reasons I'm in this particular organization is that we serve underserved population of students, kids, and mentor, and I think that's important. it's important for little sisters like me to see that they can aspire and achieve, and so that's really important. This particular work, collecting plates, at first it was complicated, getting people to understand the whole concept in the art world. What I did was, or we did as an organization, was each person brought a plate. The plate had to be meaningful, right? And so, one requirement was it had to have a gold rim. And so the plate, when you think about the plates, I've done a lot of work in using China. China is an heirloom, China is a plate. When we think about the plate, we're coming together as a family for meals. The importance of that plate. It's universal, right? No matter what kind of plate, it may not be a piece of china, it might be a tin plate. And so each of the women brought a plate. It had to have a gold rim and it had to have a pattern. The way it works is augmented reality work much like a barcode. So it picks up the scan on the plate, and that plate, then you can embed a message. Each of the women in the organization sent a video, just a simple phone video of themselves talking about gratitude. The message is just really powerful. All of the messages are all different, and gratitude. Speaking to the task of gratitude.
Video. Okay, let's see. So this is referencing that you had used that material before.
Yeah. Again, the show is a snippet of the materials that I use. There's no rhyme or reason. You find artists that they only use a specific material. That's not how I work. I collect, and they come out. Sometimes I'll use plates for years, and then I'll stop and I'll start. Well, this was the start of China. I went to Syracuse University. And I thought, what am I taking back from Syracuse? Syracuse, China. One of my biggest regrets is, I'll tell you a quick story. Syracuse, China went out of business. There was an ad about 5 years ago that said, anyone wanting to have China, come with a truckload as much as you want, you can have it if you're a teacher. And my girlfriend saw it and she said, we're going to Syracuse. And I'm like, why? She says, we're going to go get all that China. You wanted all China? And I was like, so I pondered. Biggest regret, I never got it. I never went. But anyway, this piece was, I wanted to take something back from Syracuse. And I saw the China initially when I created it. It was a means as a pedestal for this small piece. It's become something different.
Okay, so this is a good way to begin to wrap up before we take some questions. And when you explained this piece to me, the meaning of it expanded exponentially. So please let us know. The small carved birds in this were originally a toy that was handed to you through a window.
So
is that correct?
The idea of the small birds.
The idea, right.
Okay. Again, Africa. You pull up to the corner, you don't need to go to the store, there's a million vendors. This was in Ghana. One of them handed me this little pecking bird toy. If you shift left to right, it moves, And I thought, I bought this through the window of the bus, my tour bus. And I brought it back. I'm very much a kid at heart, and I like simple toys. And so, after doing some research, I'm thinking about I'll backtrack. When I speak about if your skin's so light, you're a Minger skin girl, count diver. This is what this piece speaks to. It's called pecking order and the hierarchy of your privileges based on race, color within our own race. And so the toy was the inspiration for the piece, but it looks playful, but really it isn't. It's heavy.
It is heavy, yeah. And you mentioned that the hardwoods that you use, they're very almost imperceptible to certain people, but there are a different variety of woods within those. Is that correct?
It is, yeah. If you look closely at the piece, I collected small pieces of hardwood that I actually carved those little birds out from. And again, the species, it's intentional that they're different.
When we were installing the work, it spoke to me about how every part of the piece was important to you. Right before we put the top on it, you were like, oh, it needs to make noise. And you're like, I don't have what I usually put, so I'm going to put this in. You took a bunch of screws and nails and you threw them in the bottom of the piece. So when the birds moved, there was a subtle clicking thing. But that kind of attention to detail runs throughout all of your work. And it's really amazing to me that even in that condensed time period, that no detail was going to slide because it was all necessary for the piece's functioning to be whole. Is that correct? Yeah.
It is, yeah. A very good friend of mine, someone asked her, tell us something about Kendra that we don't know. And she said, attention to detail. For me, I circle my washers. That's the best way to I center my washers. That's the best way to describe it. If it looks like, and there's I teach this, there's a really fine line between an intent and not intent. The piece that best describes that is 10. I put pink glue inside pink pigment inside the glue to have it squeeze out. It looks like it's rough, but it's very intentional. And so sometimes in the work, it looks like it's rough or raw around the edges, but it's very intentional, and it's important to me. The details are really important.
I think we have this piece left. This is in Gallery 3. Let's just go quickly through. This is a wonderful piece in Gallery 3, and then this was one of your earlier works, right?
Yeah, this is the oldest work in the show.
Right.
Junior in college, right?
This is one of my director's favorite pieces, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, Danny loves this piece.
I was a junior in college, didn't know what I was doing, didn't know what I was doing. But this piece is important to me is because it was when I allowed myself to have the freedom of not, I had the idea of this head and having it perfectly placed on this pedestal, but I allowed myself to let it be. And so, to use this phrase, this was a seminal work, this is it, It was my first experience with bronze casting. Now I teach bronze casting. And so it's the one piece that I'll probably own, probably keep, because it has so much sentimental,
Yeah, it was so important. I think it's funny because of the full spectrum of your work that we see in the exhibition. It was so important that we have this piece. Okay, so that brings us to where you're going to go next, or
where I'm going to go next. So my mama gave me this beautiful old farmhouse that I am currently restoring. The very bottom floor of that beautiful old farmhouse will be the olive press.
Oh, that's cool.
And the top floor I will hopefully use as an artist residency / studio. That's my thoughts for now. So it's close, very close. I've been restoring it for the last 10 years, and it's very, very close. So that's where I hope to retire and retreat to.
Well, can we, listen, I want to take a couple questions, but can we please just thank Kendra for all of that incredible information. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, we have a couple minutes. I'd like to take maybe 2 or 3 questions, and anybody have a question for Kendra? Sir, yeah.
What was the influence of the video? You said UW?
Oh, the video that we're playing in the mural room.
So the video is my experience in Haiti. If you look carefully, I did I can't remember, 3 weeks or something like that. And so it's a culmination of the 3 weeks in Haiti, the voodoo ceremony, the markets, and just FYI, I did get approval from everybody in the videos to shoot them.
What does the what do the letters mean? What's the?
Oh, actually, so, so that's a version of the hands.
Right.
So the video in its original format was projected on top of the hands.
Oh, okay.
So it was projected on top of the hands, thus almost like video mapping. And so it was only on the hands.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions? Trent?
It seems to me, I haven't seen the show yet, but it seems to me just listening to you talk and seeing the presentation that all of this work is not necessarily about the ego of the artist. It's about the people that you've encountered in your travels and in your life. It's very people-oriented. For people who don't have the benefit of listening to you tell the stories about the things going on, what is it that you hope the work collectively convey to someone as they walk through these things?
So I think from the materials that I use and the arrangement that they're in, especially the plates, I observed in the last opening, and you're right, about it's important. People are very central to the people I encounter, very central to my work. But I sat on the bench and I just watched people react to, and even beyond the augmentation, which is, its own thing. I heard conversations of, I remember that plate. I remember, there's a memory,
right.
The toy. I'm sure, I'm hoping that it's familiar enough with someone, and sometimes even though the use of the materials that I use is changing, I'm hoping that someone can have this, yeah, I remember that, or walk away from it, thinking about it. That's most important, that they can walk away from it, thinking about it and trying to figure it out.
One more? Yes, ma'am.
I thought I saw light coming through the boat.
There was light. And so, speaking of centering the washers, there's small little nuances like that. There was light at the bottom of the boat. I wanted it to glow instead of having just a light from the top. And so, yeah, there was light, and that's a part of presentation. It's simple enough to put something on a pedestal, but I think I like to play with the way things are presented, and so it becomes a part of the piece itself.
One of the things that was an honor to me, that when we first bonded, when we first met, and you went in, you were like, oh, you understand light. And I was like, oh, someone else that understands light.
He does, he really does.
And it was just this great thing, because for me, I like a lot of artists don't take into consideration the space and the light within the space. They think that the work exists almost in a vacuum, and it doesn't, And when we had that conversation, it was like, oh, I felt this kind of bonding between us, because I was like, oh, because you don't really run into too many people that understand that importance. And I knew instantly by your comments that you did, and you had this long-term relationship with the aspects of the light in your work and how important it was. Yeah.
And to answer that even a little further, I wanted the coconuts to glow and the wood, that was the importance of that light. The shadows that it would cast.
Yes, sir, yeah.
I just want to thank you as a fellow hoarder. I want
It's important.
to commend you on your ability to take objects of all kinds and find art within them.
It's wonderful, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's instant, like Duran, the gloves. Surprised me, it was the strangest thing, but instant. And sometimes it takes years and years and years.
Yeah, I'm still holding on to so many things.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Thank you so much. I mean, I feel like I speak on behalf of everyone who is so appreciative that we would be so willing to be vulnerable enough and provide us with this work, especially during an age where we're so sucked into our homes. It was nice to just sit and listen to other humans.
Absolutely.
I value that so much. And my question was to know, because you spoke a lot about the artist and validation, and how you would go to your mom wanting to have this moment of pride, and each time just like, you know,
Yeah.
my mom would like, just get shocked and home. And, you know, you've been an artist for such an amazing amount of time. And so often that's not appreciated because we live in a society that wants type of professionalism and to be packaged and to have a product. And to even hear you say about one of your pieces that you didn't really know what was it yet, it's liberating because human beings are obsessed with that level of perfection. So I would love to hear you speak on what it's been like for you to just like persevere and continue to stand as yourself, despite us living in a world that wants to be anything like that, to just offer us some guidance.
So, one thing I own in this world, one thing I own is the ability to create what I want, and I take that really seriously, to be as honest as I can. It is the one thing I own. I don't let anything or anyone get in the way. Mom, dad, nothing, right? It is difficult. I'm in academia, I teach, and so in academia, there's this very academic environment, and sometimes, and just until recently, let's say recently in the last 5 years, I've allowed myself to, the hell with it. I'm just making what I want for what I want, you know, because I felt like I hadn't been taken serious from my peers, my colleagues. It wasn't academic enough. And I think in the last 5 years or so, I've allowed myself to let that go.
Thank God.
You know, just let it go and just.
Yes, absolutely.
I will say, just last year, 2022, I was given the honor of being the first female to ever have a mid-career retrospective at the National Museum in the Bahamas.
Wonderful.
And so that was validating from my people, right? And I felt my mom there, you know. Yeah, she didn't understand it, but
yet she had your exhibition catalog right
in my
next to her in the
car.
car. There it is. Well, thank you all for tonight. Please say hi to Kendra on the way out, and if you have a chance.